In the world of folklore, foxes are the ultimate tactical geniuses. They don't just chase their prey, they use strategy to trap them. These bewitching creatures are legendary for being seductive and ruthless. But our girl Qingci doesn't believe in fairy tales. She's the most popular lecturer at the university, known as the Icy Beauty. Every student is obsessed with her, but no one can get close. Little do they know, this icy queen is actually just dreaming of noodles and a movie. She just wants to go home and be left in peace. Suddenly, a wild student appears at terminal velocity. A poor heroine gets absolutely tackled into the grass. Her ID badge goes flying as they hit the dirt. Meet Tang Ran, the adorable nugget who just crashed into her life. She tries to return a fox-shaped earring looking all innocent. Qingci recognizes her as the girl who asked about fox demons in class. Tang Ran offers the earring as a gift, saying it would look great on her. But our girl is a total fortress and shuts her down instantly. She cold-bloodedly tells her she doesn't even like foxes. As she walks away, Qingci realizes her ID badge is gone. She decides to just forget it, not wanting the drama. But look who's lurking on top of a street lamp. It's Tang Ran, and she's sporting a pair of literal fox ears. She's got the ID in her mouth and a predatory smirk on her face. Back at the girls' dorm, Tang Ran is the popular Ran everyone loves. Her roommates are obsessed with the icy Miss Sue. They think Sue is the ultimate hot teacher type. But Tang Ran tells them she's already got her eyes on someone special. The girls go into a total frenzy trying to guess who it is. The next day, more brave souls try to ask Qingci out. She rejects them with the warmth of a literal blizzard. She thinks people are strange for giving up so easily. But then a certain fox appears out of nowhere. Tang Ran didn't just find the ID, she tracked down Sue's entire schedule. She even shows up with the exact cake our heroine secretly loves. Sue is totally stunned. How did this girl read her so perfectly? Before she can process it, Tang Ran drops the ultimate bomb. Right there in the hall, she confesses, "It's because I like you, miss." Our icy queen just got cornered by a literal fox spirit. Back in the girls' dormitory, things are looking suspiciously quiet until our poor heroine's roommate comes in with some snacks. She finds our girl buried in a tablet, obsessed with some old folklore about fox spirits. It turns out, legend says these creatures weren't just monsters, but a whole separate species hiding among us. While her friend just wants to grab a drink, our girl can't stop thinking about the idea that these demons might be hiding in plain sight because humans are too terrified of the unknown. The text warns that the world is full of things that can bewitch you. And of all the legends, the most famous one is the seductive fox spirit, known for their irresistible charm and beauty. They were the ultimate figures of temptation. One look into those glowing eyes, and you're a goner, hence the phrase sly as a fox. Speaking of being bewitched, our girl finally gathers her courage to tell Ran the three big words. I like you. She's pouring her heart out, but Ran just stares back with zero emotion. She hits our girl with the coldest "I understand" ever recorded, and prepares to walk away like it's just another Tuesday. Our girl isn't giving up that easily and grabs her sleeve. Begging for a real response, Ran finally turns back and tilts our girl's chin up, giving her an intense, heart-stopping stare. She calls her a good girl, but then drops the savage bomb. She has absolutely no plans to date anyone ever. She says thanks for the cake and leaves our girl completely stunned. Our heroine puts on a brave face and waves goodbye. But as Ran walks away, our girl's expression changes to something way more calculated. She knows the textbook says not to pursue too aggressively, and she's playing the long game. She skips away with a literal spring in her step, humming a happy tune, because she's not done yet. But wait, Ran is watching her from the window. She takes off her glasses, and her eyes start to glow with a divine blue light. Surprise, she's actually a nine-tailed fox spirit. She mutters a fox hut, clearly sensing our girl's true nature. Flashback time, hundreds of years ago. The world was a different place. A tiny white fox demon was just trying to exist in a traditional village. The local kids were curious about her fuzzy ears and tails. They wanted to touch the fluff, but a protective hand stops them. One kid warns that only demons have tails, making the poor little thing look so sad and vulnerable. Despite the warnings, the kids can't resist the floof, and soon they're all playing together. But there's always one brat in the group. He decides to test if the tails are real by giving them a massive yank. Our little fox snaps back in pain, and just as things get chaotic, her big sister arrives to pick her up. This sister is a total queen, and quickly shoos the kids away. As they walk through the bamboo forest, the little one asks why she's called a demon. Big sis explains that demon is just a name for their kind. She teaches her the golden rule: to play with humans, you have to follow their rules. That means hiding the ears, tucking in the tail, and changing her hair color to blend in. You have to respect their boundaries to keep the peace. But as they walk away, little Qingci realizes a dark truth. Humans are contradictory species. If you respect their boundaries too much, you become an outsider forever. Qingci grew up into a cold, beautiful woman. living her life like an icy lake. People would admire her from a distance, but the moment they got close, they'd freeze up and stay away. This lonely cycle has been going on for 600 years. Back in the present, Ran is back to her cold human act. When she hears a knock, in her mind, it's like someone is literally knocking on her frozen heart. She looks up and there's our girl literally hovering outside the window. She's grinning ear to ear. It's inviting Ran to a freshman party. Looks like the ice is finally starting to crack. Tang Ran is literally pressing her face against the glass like a chaotic puppy to invite Qingci to a freshman party. Our girl Su is just trying to read in peace, but how can you say no to a face that excited? Tang Ran promises it's just a casual barbecue with the cohort. Su is skeptical, thinking teachers shouldn't be crashing student parties. But Tang Ran pulls out the big guns, insisting she specifically wants her Miss Su to be there. Su studies her, realizing the girl has no idea who she actually is. She suspects Tang Ran might have ulterior motives for getting this close. Looking back at her long, lonely history, Su realizes it's been ages since she interacted with her own kind. She's lived through so many cold seasons in total isolation. Maybe a little human fun wouldn't hurt for once. She gives in and agrees, making Tang Ran the happiest girl on campus. Just look at that savage little Fang, she's absolutely winning. Night falls at the BBQ restaurant and the grill is sizzling with delicious skewers. The other students are gossiping, shocked that the legendary Ice Queen professor might actually show up to a private event. Tang Ran is nervously checking her phone, terrified she might have been ghosted. Suddenly, the air changes as Qingci makes her entrance. She looks so ethereal that the background literally sprouts roses. The whole table goes silent as the goddess arrives. Tang Ran immediately claims the seat next to her, patting the spot like a loyal guard. Su apologizes for being late, admitting she struggled to pick an outfit that would help her fit in. Our poor heroine is already swooning, telling her she looks beautiful regardless of what she wears. The drinks start flowing and the toast is made. Tang Ran has a secret plan: use alcohol to build intimacy and lower Su's guard. She's ready to be a cunning little fox and make Su an easy catch. But she forgot one tiny, crucial detail. She downs her drink in one go. It turns out our girl has zero alcohol tolerance. Within minutes, she's completely wasted and clinging to Su like a koala. While the friends watch the chaotic scene in total shock, Su just calmly goes back to her meat. Tang Ran is currently busy sniffing Su's hair and being a total menace. The friends realize she's gone to another planet after only 2 cups. Drunk Tang Ran slams the table, insisting she can still drink the whole place under the table. She's even started revealing her secret, shouting that she's actually a 102-year-old fox. Her friends just laugh it off, thinking she's been reading way too many supernatural webtoons lately. Meanwhile, a random guy tries his luck and asks Su for drink. She shuts him down instantly, claiming she doesn't like alcohol. He tries to invite her to play games, and she hits him with the cold, "I hate physical contact" line. The irony, Tang Ran is currently rubbing her face all over Su's shoulder like it's her personal pillow. When the guy points out how much Tang Ran seems to like her, our drunk girl stands up and declares to the whole room that Su is hers. The whole group is stunned by her possessive directness. Su just sighs, watching the humans play their social games with hidden masks. She finds the whole group dynamic incredibly boring and would much rather be at home. The guy won't take a hint and tries to get Su's social media contact. Su gives him the coldest no in history. He starts begging for a chance, but he's about to get a reality check. Tang Ran slams her hand down between them, blocking his path with savage energy. She repeats herself with a terrifyingly sharp look. She already said Su belongs to her. Don't mess with a drunk, possessive fox. Didn't I just say she's mine? Our girl screams, making her claim loud and clear. Tang Ran is absolutely fuming, her green eyes flashing with a possessive fire. She's done playing nice, and Professor Su can only look on in surprise as the chaotic energy shifts. The air in the room practically crackles as Tang Ran stakes her territory. Look at that glare. If looks could kill, this poor guy would be 6 feet under already. Our heroine is practically baring her teeth, showing a side of her that's anything but good girl. The guy realizes he's stepped into a minefield and starts backing away, hands up in total surrender. He thought she was joking, but one look at her face tells him his life is on the line. Who's joking? She shouts, basically telling him Professor Su is off limits for everyone but her. She's not just protecting her crush, she's acting like a tiny, ferocious dragon guarding its hoard. The sheer dominance she's displaying has everyone else at the table sweating bullets. Meanwhile, our gorgeous Professor Su is just sitting there with a mysterious smile, clearly enjoying the show. She finds this savage side of our girl absolutely charming. Tang Ran is so worked up she's practically vibrating with rage. But as the night goes on, the adrenaline wears off and the alcohol kicks in. Our girl is seeing double and her head is spinning faster than a carousel. Her friends try to help her stumble out of the bar, but it's a losing battle. She's so wasted she can barely stand, and the good girl facade has completely evaporated. As Professor Su prepares to leave, our poor heroine reaches out with a desperate, trembling hand. "Professor, you don't want me anymore," she whimpers, looking like a kicked puppy. It's a total 180 from her savage behavior earlier, and it's enough to make anyone's heart melt. Su tells her to go back to the dorms, but Tang Ran is in no state to follow orders. She tries to walk away, but she's swaying like a leaf in a hurricane. Suddenly, she freezes, her spiritual power becoming dangerously unstable from all the drinks. Something is about to pop out, and if her true identity is discovered, it's game over. If the Demon Supervisor Bureau catches wind of this, she's getting sent back to school for sure. Sue notices the change and turns back, her eyes narrowing behind her glasses. Tang Ran lets out a massive yawn, her control slipping by the second. She tries to grab her friend's sleeve but misses entirely, falling toward the cold pavement. But wait, the professor is faster. She catches our girl in a perfect princess carry before she can hit the ground. The friends are left gaping like fish as Sue declares she's taking Tang Ran home personally. But wait, the dorms aren't even in that direction. As they walk away, one of the friends spots something absolutely impossible. Is that a fluffy orange tail poking out from under Tang Ran's shirt? Under the pale moonlight, the secret is fully out, even if our heroine is too drunk to realize it. Her big, bushy tail is wagging right there for the professor to see. She's curled up against Sue's chest, completely vulnerable and fast asleep. And instead of being terrified, Sue actually reaches out to touch it. It's quite soft, she muses, stroking the forbidden floof with a gentle hand. Tang Ran groggily opens her eyes, realizing she's being held by the very person she's been pining for. She's in full chibai mode now, her brain still half fogged by the booze. She starts babbling about how much she likes the professor, calling her the prettiest person in the world. She's hugging Sue so tight you'd think she was a lifeline. She confesses that she's liked Sue since before school even started. She's watched Sue from the shadows, seeing her save stray cats and even bandage a wounded bird. Sue even directed traffic for a family of frogs. Our girl fell for her kindness towards small animals, not knowing she's basically a small animal herself. Sue carries her into a luxury apartment, and the moment the door opens, all hell breaks loose. It turns out Sue's place is already a zoo full of animal spirits. Tang Ran starts to wake up again, and the other spirits panic. Before she can blow their cover, a black cat spirit whips out a mallet and bonk. Back to sleep she goes while the professor just watches the chaos unfold. Professor Sue finally lets her guard down, putting her glasses aside as she gets ready for bed. She carefully buttons up, looking every bit the elegant fox she is. After a quick wash, she checks in on her trio of tiny fox helpers. The little guys are keeping a close eye on our sleeping heroine, but the professor tells them to relax since she cast a sleeping spell. She can't risk taking Tang Ran back to the dorms while she's in the state. One of the foxes helps pull the blanket up, as they find a cozy spot for her on the couch. Professor Sue knows if Tang Ran's true form was seen at the dorms, it would be a total disaster. Looking at her sleeping guest, the professor admits it's been ages since she's been around her own kind. She even whispers that our girl is actually quite cute, though she immediately warns the foxes to keep that a secret. She gives one of the foxes a playful squeeze, before they all settle in to watch a movie while Tang Ran remains dead to the world. Professor Sue looks surprisingly peaceful with her little fox family. While they sleep through the night, Tang Ran is having the most chaotic dream ever. She's dreaming of cute versions of the foxes making an absolute racket. In her head, she's frolicking through a field of lemons, while the foxes blast instruments right in her ears. The noise is so savage that she jolts awake in a cold sweat. But wait, she's back in her dorm room. Her roommate is just casually reading on the top bunk, while our poor heroine tries to figure out how she got there. The roommate drops a bombshell. Professor Sue personally brought her back this morning. Our girl is absolutely reeling from the news. She starts wondering if she actually spent the night at the professor's place. Could it be that her fox charms are finally working? She excitedly checks her body for any marks of affection. But there's absolutely nothing, and her disappointment is immeasurable. Realizing she left her textbook behind, she starts tearing the bed apart. She has to get back to the academy immediately. She bolts out the door, and just as she leaves, her friend Xiao Zhao shows up looking for her. Xiao Zhao learns she just missed her and decides to give chase. Meanwhile, Tang Ran is sprinting across campus like her life depends on it. She follows the map all the way to Songling College, the secret academy for her kind. She approaches the steps, looking over her shoulder nervously. As she walks through the security gate, a magical ripple passes through her. Suddenly, her fox ears and tail pop out in all their glory. Now that she's back in her true form, she looks like a total baddie. The school is filled with all sorts of demons just living their best lives. Suddenly, a loud alarm starts echoing through the air. Tang Ran looks around, sensing something is very wrong. She spots Xiao Zhao standing right there, looking completely terrified. The human friend actually followed her into the lion's den. Before Xiao Zhao can get caught, Tang Ran grabs her and starts dragging her away. They have to hide before the school's security finds them. A massive stone statue suddenly comes to life with a roar. It's Miss Xier, the gatekeeper who hunts down humans. They huddle behind a walls, barely breathing. The stone lions start sniffing the air, sensing a human presence. Even the tiny stone lions are on the prowl, stomping around looking for the intruder. Luckily, Tang Ran's concealment spell manages to trick them. The stone guardian eventually gives up and returns to its pedestal. Tang Ran finally lets out a breath, but she is not happy with her friend. Xiao Zhao is wide-eyed, finally realizing that Tang Ran and this whole school aren't human. Instead of being scared, she actually looks kind of excited. Tang Ran warns her that this is a total disaster, but she can't just let her go now. Xiao Zhao jokes about needing a Harry Potter amnesia spell to forget the secret. Our girl gets serious and asks if they can still be friends now that the secret is out. Xiao Zhao doesn't hesitate for a second, she's a real one. Tang Ran laughs, admitting she doesn't even know any high-level spells anyway. It's a sweet moment, even if they are in a school full of monsters. She explains that this academy was built to help demons adapt to human society. Since ancient times, humans have feared them, so they had to learn to blend it. Only those who pass the final exam can officially integrate into the human world. It's basically like a demon thesis project. Xiao Zhao asks what the Fox tribe has to do to graduate. Tang Ran's expression changes as she drops the biggest reveal yet. To graduate and live among humans, she has to make a human fall head over heels in love with her. And looking at that savage smirk, she's definitely ready to win. Tang Ran's morning starts with a face full of blanket and a very enthusiastic fox girl. Our girl is reminded of the ultimate mission, making a human fall head over heels. And not just any human, but a specific one. This bushy-tailed fox is ready to hunt, showing off her human look that she's clearly spent way too much time perfecting. From the trendy shirt to the fit, she's practically vibrating with chaotic energy. Tang Ran just stares, wondering where her life went wrong. Our heroine is skeptical, giving the Chibai fox a look that says, really. The fox girl insists she's been practicing her charms for ages. Suddenly, a light bulb goes off for Tang Ran. She finally understands why this fox is being so extra around Professor Su. But she has to break the news. Catching the professor is going to be a nightmare. Why? Because she's the ultimate straight girl trap. The fox girl gets a quick lesson on this legendary hunter. Apparently, a straight girl trap is someone who gets intimate just to make you feel special, giving you the illusion of a chance, only to drop the "we're just friends" bomb the second you make a move. The Chibas are shook by the complexity. Tang Ran explains that if Professor Su is one of them, she's the final boss. She's the trifecta, an iceberg, a mature lady, and highly educated. Basically, she's a goddess among mortals. The advice is simple, change the strategy. Instead of chasing, the fox needs to pretend to be straight and let the professor do the work. Tang Ran is acting like a total love guru right now. But the fox girl isn't convinced and decides to consult her textbook instead. She's actually worried about her grades too. She's even attending classes like a good little spirit. She's obsessed with learning the right way to make someone like her. Suddenly, the fox spots someone touching her upperclassman, who is literally just a cat. She goes full protective mode. Tang Ran has to drag her away as they both bow and apologize to the grumpy feline. Back at the dorms, Tang Ran offers to go find the legendary textbook. The fox girl is too scared to even touch it for fear of losing it. Finally, our girl finds the prize, the fox's secret book. Meanwhile, over at the university, class is finally letting out. Professor Su closes her books, looking as elegant as ever. Her colleagues are gossiping, wondering why she never shows up to the mixers. They've convinced themselves she's just not capable of falling in love. Su just walks away, her presence commanding the entire hallway. She heads outside, noticing how strangely quiet the campus is. She catches a glimpse of something in the trees. A rustle in the bushes has her on high alert. Is it a stalker? No, it's just our chaotic duo. Inside the dorm, the fox girl is frantically taking photos of the secret book. She's almost done with her study session. But wait, did they leave something behind? Professor Su spots a blue book sitting out in the open. A sudden gust of wind flips the pages. Su's eyes widen as she sees the title page. It's not just any book, it's a guide with her name on it. The fox girl's evil plan is literally written in ink. Back on campus, the girls are debating the timeline of love. The fox wants to know how long it takes for a human to fold. Tang Ran casually says half a year, and the fox nearly has a heart attack. She thinks a single wink should do the trick in a month. Tang Ran explains that real life isn't a spicy webtoon. You can't just jump into bed and call it love. The fox girl stares at her, clearly taking notes on this expert advice. She asks for one more favor. The next day, the professor is on the warpath. She spots a textbook that definitely isn't on the syllabus. She confiscates it right out of the fox girl's hands. The fox is devastated as Su walks away with her precious romance novel. Su starts reading, curious about what love in Siena is all about. She flips to a page and oh my, it's a full-on instruction manual for physical affection. The book uses little wooden dolls to explain the formula for love. It says holding hands and kissing are just results of a successful strategy. Su realizes Tang Ran was studying this intently. Was she actually trying to learn how to kiss the professor? The dolls demonstrate a perfect embrace. Su closes the book, her mind racing. She starts to wonder if a kiss with the girl would actually be interesting. She's definitely overthinking it now. After class, the campus is buzzing. Su spots Tang Ran and calls her out. Tang Ran looks a bit nervous. Su warns her that confiscated items are never returned. But Tang Ran isn't here for the book, she just wanted to walk with her. Suddenly, the sky opens up. It's a total downpour. Tang Ran is getting absolutely drenched. She looks like a sad, wet puppy. But wait, Sue notices something fishy. It's an isolated shower that is literally only following Tang Ran. Our girl's rain spell for a romantic moment is way too obvious. Tang Ran tries to play it up, shivering and suggesting that Sue's home is nearby. She's practically begging for an invite. Sue just deadpans that Tang Ran's dorm is also very close. The plan is a total bust. Even the local cat thinks she's a complete fool. Our poor heroine is looking like a total drowned rat after getting caught in the rain. Sue wonders if she learned this dramatic wet look strategy from one of her romance books. But then the professor gives her a gentle head pat, and our girl decides it's time to finally shoot her shot. She boldly asks if she can go to the professor's house right now. She puts on her best puppy dog eyes, sparkling with desperate hope. She's literally sweating bullets while waiting for an answer. Professor Sue just gives her the most legendary, soul-piercing blank stare in history. But then she simply turns around and says, "Let's go." Our girl is over the moon, practically floating with joy. She follows Sue like a loyal, excited little duckling. They finally arrive at the professor's sleek apartment. Sue immediately tells her to hop in the shower before she catches a cold. Our girl realizes this is her golden opportunity and asks to borrow some of Sue's clothes. Sue agrees without a second thought, and our heroine thinks she's a total mastermind at closing the distance. After a very steamy and refreshing shower, she pokes her head out, ready to initiate phase 2 of her plan. Wrapped in nothing but a towel, she claims they've run out of shower gel. Sue doesn't suspect a thing and offers to go get it for her. Next, our girl pretends she's a total damsel who has never seen a hair dryer in her life. But Sue just blasts her directly in the face with it like a high-powered leaf blower. Our heroine is left completely dejected because her hidden charms are failing miserably. She finally puts on Sue's oversized button-down shirt, looking soft and undeniably adorable. Sue calls her over to the couch and starts gently stroking her hair. She tells our girl that she looks just like a puppy. Sue leans in dangerously close, and suddenly the room is feeling way too hot. Our girl realizes this kind of tension definitely isn't taught in any of her textbooks. The tension finally snaps and they share a gorgeous, petal-filled first kiss. She looks up and asks Sue if she wants to see her be an even better puppy. Sue's internal monologue reminds us she isn't even human, so professional ethics are officially out the window. She leans back in for another round of spicy studying. Then Sue drops a total savage line, asking our girl if she'll actually bark for her. Our girl doesn't even hesitate and lets out a soft woof. She thinks about how she's always been a top-tier student, and that there's definitely a faster way to graduate from this favorability stage. She pulls Sue down for a kiss that is anything but innocent. Sue tells her she really is a puppy, biting down in one place and refusing to let go. She starts unbuttoning our girl's shirt with focused intent. But just as things are reaching a fever pitch, the power suddenly cuts out. The room goes pitch black in an instant. But even in the shadows, Sue looks absolutely mesmerizing and ethereal. Our girl's heart is racing a mile a minute. Everywhere Sue touches feels like it's burning hot against her skin. Back at the girls' dorms, things are significantly less spicy and way more mundane. Her roommate is just chilling, probably wondering where the heck Ran disappeared to this time. She's casually slicing fruit, totally oblivious to the absolute madness her friend is enduring. Meanwhile, the professor is washing up, looking as calm as a cucumber. She lathers up her hands, acting like she didn't just break every teacher-student boundary in existence. But our girl is still trapped in the memory of those huffs and puffs, her mind a total mess. The water rinses away the physical evidence, but those memories are sticking around for a long time. Ranran's flushed, chaotic face is practically burned into the professor's mind. The tap shuts off, marking the end of their little extracurricular session. Everything feels like a blurry dream as the reality of the situation finally sets in. The professor coolly announces that the lesson is officially over, looking as elegant as ever. She grabs a towel to clean up the aftermath, and she even has the audacity to gently wipe our girl's leg, keeping that stone-cold poker face the entire time. Our heroine is left panting on the bed, barely able to find her voice after that whirlwind. She manages to squeak out a thank you, because apparently she's a polite little fox even when her brain is completely fried. Morning light hits the trees, signaling a very awkward and confusing brand new day. Our girl wakes up on the professor's sofa the next morning, feeling like she was hit by a literal truck. She stretches her aching back, wondering if she actually survived the night in one piece. She looks around for Sue, but the professor is nowhere to be seen in the quiet apartment. Suddenly, the front door clicks open and someone steps inside with a heavy thud. Ran lights up, thinking her favorite professor is back to take care of her. But instead of a tall, beautiful woman, she's greeted by a little child with a backpack. The girl looks at her with pure judgment and demands to know why there's a total stranger in her house. Our girl is buffering, trying to process that this isn't just the professor's private bachelorette pad. She stammers out that Professor Sue was the one who brought her here last night. But the kid isn't buying it for a second because apparently Sue never brings anyone home. She demands to know what kind of relationship they have, and the pressure is officially on. Ran starts doing some frantic mental math about human social structures and terminology. She's trying to find the right term for sleeping with your teacher who also happens to be a fox. And with absolutely zero filter, she proudly declares that they had a one-night stand. She looks so satisfied with her answer, while the poor kid just stares back in complete horror. The girl enters a state of internal crisis, screaming silently at the audacity of this woman. She tries to stay calm, probably wondering if she should call the police or just run away. Then, being a true savage, she asks our girl for 200 yuan in exchange for her silence. Since our heroine is broke and has no cash on her, the kid makes her sign an IOU instead. Ran actually writes it down, proving she's way too easy to bully even by a middle schooler. She hands over the signed paper, officially being blackmailed by a child in her own teacher's house. The kid agrees to turn a blind eye to the scandal as long as the money is right. Our girl is left wondering what kind of mess she just got herself into. She finally asks the million-dollar question about who this girl actually is to the professor. The tension is palpable as they stare each other down in the morning light. A quick transition through the trees as the bombshell of the century is about to drop. Back at the dorms later, our girl is moving like a total zombie. She finds her roommate and immediately starts acting incredibly suspicious. She pulls down the blinds, making sure no one can peek in at her secret. She asks her roommate for a huge favor while clutching her shirt nervously. It only shows up once they've completed their very hands-on graduation thesis. This education ring is basically the holy grail for every Fox student out there. Ran is convinced that after last night, she should definitely have one of these marks. But the roommate doesn't see a single thing back there, which is a total mood killer for our girl. Our heroine's expression turns serious as a brand new worry starts to brew in her head. She asks if having a child makes a person less attractive or less likely to fall in love. Her roommate is totally lost, wondering why the conversation just took such a dark and heavy turn. Ran's heart sinks because she thinks she's finally found the professor's biggest secret. She flashes back to the moment she asked that mysterious girl about her identity back at the apartment. The girl had given her a smirk that was way too mature for someone her age. And then she dropped the ultimate bombshell that shattered our girl's world. Qingci is her mother. Our heroine is left reeling as the weight of the professor's secret family life finally crashes down on her. Sue returns home with groceries, her eyes searching for any sign of her little roommate. She enters the quiet apartment, wondering if that little fox has finally decided to stay out for once. Looking at the empty sofa, she can't help but feel a strange void in the room. But her peace is short-lived as Lin Song suddenly pops her head out like a curious kitten. Our girl beams with joy, thrilled that Sue is back earlier than expected. She follows Sue into the kitchen, chirping away about why the school schedule suddenly changed. As Sue starts putting things away, she decides to drop a bombshell joke about finding a naked woman in the house. The shock is so real that a plate ends up shattered on the floor, much to Sue's amusement. Sensing a shift in the mood, Lin Song nervously asks if Sue has finally found a girlfriend. Sue's response is ice cold, a simple no that cuts through the air like a knife. Our heroine tries to be mature, telling Sue that she should just fall in love and stop feeling obligated to look after her. The tension in the room is thick enough to choke on as they stare at each other. Sue shuts down the emotional talk immediately, placing a plate of dumplings down and declaring it's time to eat. When Lin Song looks hurt, Sue delivers the ultimate savage blow. She isn't staying single because of her because she's not that important. Ouch, talk about a reality check that leaves our poor girl speechless. They settle into a strained silence, the weight of unspoken feelings hanging over the dinner table. Meanwhile, back at school, the gossip mill is working overtime. The students are convinced Professor Sue is a secret married woman with a kid in high school. They pity whoever has to live in that hellish nightmare, completely unaware of the truth. But Xiao Zhao is lost in her own world, clutching her face as she remembers the warmth from the previous night. Her mind drifts back to those intimate, hazy moments where the world seemed to disappear. She felt completely engulfed in Sue's presence, a memory that still makes her heart race. Yet the cold reality sets in. It feels like she was the only one who actually felt something. Feeling like a rejected fox, she wonders if she should just give up and find someone else to like. She ponders the advice, her green eyes filled with a mix of longing and frustration. Later, Sue walks through the school hallways, looking as untouchable and regal as ever. She spots Xiao Zhao with her friends, looking like any other normal student. Xiao Zhao offers a polite, formal greeting, playing her part perfectly in this public charade. Sue passes by without a second glance, internally noting that the little fox certainly knows how to act. She convinces herself that Xiao Zhao will eventually move on and find a new target to pester. Back home, a small fox spirit keeps watch over the living room while Sue rests. Sue finds herself staring at a drawer full of accessories, her eyes landing on a specific fox-shaped bracelet. She remembers when the girl gave it to her as a blushing apology, promising it would look good on her. With a heavy sigh, she shuts the drawer, trying to lock away the sentimentality along with it. She tries to distract herself with TV, but even the newest shows feel utterly boring. The weekend finally rolls around, and Lin Song prepares to head back to the dorms. She says her goodbyes, stepping out into the golden glow of the setting sun. Little does she know, trouble is brewing in the shadows of the nearby alleyways. A group of thugs is lying in wait, eager to get their revenge on her for a past grievance. As she turns the corner, a chill runs down her spine, sensing that something is very wrong. She stops and looks back, her heart hammering against her ribs as the shadows seem to stretch toward her. But when she scans the street, there's absolutely nothing there, just an eerie silence. She brushes it off as her imagination and keeps moving, unaware of the carnage happening behind her. One by one, the thugs are being dragged into the darkness, silenced before they can even make a move. A mysterious figure in black stands over the fallen group, radiating a terrifying aura. From the shadows, a white-haired stranger watches the girl walk away, their eyes glowing with predatory intent. They catch a familiar scent on the breeze, the unmistakable scent of a fox. Our girl is currently sporting some seriously dark shades, trying her best to look cool. But honestly, she's just having a total existential crisis in her dinosaur pajamas. She's out here trying to achieve enlightenment, hoping the holy light will wash away her sins. Or maybe she's just trying to meditate the heartbreak away in the middle of her bed. She's focused on the Buddha's light, ignoring all worldly desires. Her roommate isn't buying it for a second, asking what on earth she's doing. Our poor heroine claims she's just taking care of her mind and body. But the second she hears Professor Su's name, the Zen facade completely shatters. She goes from calm monk to chaotic mess in record time, wailing about her long-lost love. She's been avoiding class and running away like a scared fox ever since things got awkward. Her friend hands her a tissue, wondering why she's taking it so hard after all this time. She pulls out a tissue, trying to mop up the tears and the pride she's lost. Finally, she admits it, she really likes her. She can't stop thinking about the way Professor Su looked at her. The way she was so gentle and kind, like a dream she never wanted to wake up from. Remembering those sweet moments makes her heart ache all over again. She was just so gentle and our girl was completely hooked. But the more she tries to push the thoughts away, the more they flood back. It's a never-ending cycle of pining and regret. Her friend suggests maybe finding someone else to like, but it's not that easy. If she could control her emotions, she wouldn't be in this mess. Real love isn't something you can just switch off like a lamp. Her roommate gets savage, roasting her for chasing someone who's clearly out of reach. She tells her to stop before it gets even ruder, though the truth definitely hurts. Realizing that crying burns calories, they decide it's time for a late-night snack run. They head out into the city, the night air doing nothing to cool her feverish heart. The city lights are a blur as they wander the streets. They find a food stall and the smell of fried noodles is the only thing keeping her sane. 2 servings of noodles and some spicy rice cakes, please. Her friend asks what's going to happen with her classes if she stops pursuing the professor. Our girl explains that erasing the file process, a fresh start at the school. She looks determined, even if her eyes are still a little red from crying. It means everyone she's met won't even remember she existed. Forgetting about the professor seems like the most logical yet painful option. She's trying to learn the hard lesson of accepting what she can't have. She vows to be a strong, indifferent fox demon from now on. But just as she makes that vow, a familiar voice orders food right behind her. It's Professor Su, speak of the devil, and she shall appear in a stunning red dress. Our girl's jaw drops. What is she doing here of all places? The professor calmly explains she's just picking up some food for her family. She looks at our heroine with an expression that's hard to read. The tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a knife. Our girl tries to act natural, but she's sweating bullets internally. She tells herself to stay calm and act like the last few weeks never happened. But it's hard when those green eyes are looking right through her. The professor notices something small, asking if her hair has grown longer. She reaches out, gently touching our girl's chin in a way that makes her heart stop. The world around them seems to fade away in that single moment. Our heroine looks up, her resolve crumbling instantly. She can't keep pretending anymore. She gathers every bit of courage she has and asks if she can pursue her again. The silence that follows is deafening. They stand there caught in a moment of pure, raw honesty. Even the food stall owner is probably holding their breath. Professor Su, can I pursue you again? The words are finally out there. She waits for the rejection, her heart pounding against her ribs. The professor looks down, her thoughts a complete mystery. She thinks to herself that Tang Ran has definitely changed a little. For a moment, it seemed like nothing had changed at all. But the second she touched her hair, she realized the truth. Why is she feeling this way? Why is she reacting like this? Her body is being more honest than her mind right now. She clenches her fist, trying to maintain her icy composure. She asks our girl what she'll do if she can't ever catch her. What if no matter what, she doesn't get the result she wants? Our heroine is stunned for a split second, but she doesn't back down. With a small smile, she says she'll just chase after her again. She's not giving up that easily, not this time. She's ready for the long haul. She'll keep going until the professor tells her to stop for good. Flowers practically bloom around her as she declares her intent. The professor can't help but let out a small, mysterious smile. The mood is broken by the stall owner asking if the noodles are ready. The professor checks her phone, the moment passing as quickly as it came. She's already paid for her food and is ready to head out. She grabs her bag, her movements elegant as always. Our girl watches her walk away, feeling like she's floating on air. "You can chase me," the professor says, leaving her with a final spark of hope. She walks off into the night, leaving our heroine beaming. But then the professor stops, casting one last glance back. Our girl is still clutching her bag of food, completely dazed. The professor's eyes linger for just a second longer. "If you aren't afraid of rejection," she adds with a playful edge. Our girl is absolutely over the moon, her green eyes sparkling. She and her friends start celebrating, doing a literal happy dance. It's a total victory in her book. But the roommate is already over the drama. The professor continues on her way, a little smirk on her face. She's definitely intrigued by our girl's persistence. Our girl checks her phone, probably ready to text the good news to everyone. "Wait," the owner says, the professor only paid for her own food. Our girl's face drops as she realizes she still has to pay separately. So much for a romantic gesture, she's still on the hook for those noodles. They head toward a convenience store to grab some drinks. They forgot the milk tea they ordered on the apps. Her friend tells her to stay put while she runs to go get it. She hands over the noodles, telling our girl to wait right there. Our heroine is left alone on the sidewalk, still buzzing from her encounter. She starts walking home, lost in her own little world. She's humming to herself, thinking about her next move. Suddenly, the air around her starts to ripple with a strange chant. A glowing seal lights up the ground beneath her feet. She looks down, confused. What kind of prank is this? But this is no joke. The magical energy is surging around her. Before she can react, a massive shockwave hits her. She gasps as the trap snaps shut. A rope of light snakes around her legs, pulling tight. It grabs her with supernatural force, yanking her off her feet. She lets out a yelp as she's dragged upward. In the blink of an eye, she's hanging from a tree like a captured animal. She's suspended upside down, screaming for help as the world spins. She blinks, trying to see who's responsible for this mess. A voice says, "Caught you," and a mysterious figure steps into the light. Glowing particles float in the air as the stranger approaches. Those eyes, one orange, one blue, look down at her with zero mercy. They hold a glowing talisman, and our girl realizes she's in serious trouble. This person isn't here to talk, they're here for a hunt. The beads on their wrist glow with an ominous light. Under the shimmering wisteria, a secret romance seems to be blooming in the moonlight. A girl with striking heterochromatic eyes and long silver hair confronts our heroine. She's armed with ancient talismans and sacred prayer beads, looking like a high-tier exorcist. The beads glow with a divine, golden light as she prepares to strike. Magic surges through the air, sensing a supernatural threat nearby. Our poor heroine Tang Ran is caught in a literal bind, hanging upside down like a sack of potatoes. She screams, demanding to know who this crazy intruder is and why she's being targeted. It turns out she's been strung up on a playground structure by this self-proclaimed hunter. Lightning-infused ropes sizzle around her ankles, leaving her totally helpless and dangling. She struggles with all her might, but these magical restraints are the real deal. The exorcist, Lin Song, doesn't look like she's playing games as she prepares her next move. She launches a talisman with lethal precision. The paper charm cuts through the air like a blade, glowing with power. Our girl can only watch in horror as the attack closes in. Suddenly, a rustle in the nearby bushes catches their attention. Under the pale moonlight, someone else is approaching the scene. In the quiet neighborhood, a late-night snack run is about to turn into a rescue mission. Professor Sue hands over a bag of fried noodles to her student, totally oblivious to the chaos just a few yards away. But as they walk down the street, the smell of delicious food isn't the only thing in the air. Sue's sharp eyes narrow as she senses a familiar magical fluctuation. She looks toward the playground, her instincts screaming that something is wrong. Her student starts babbling about their meal, but Sue is already gone in the blink of an eye. Left alone, the poor girl wonders where her companion disappeared to so suddenly. Back at the playground, Lin Song stands over her captive, calling her a measly lesser demon. Tang Ran isn't taking that insult, lying down and starts struggling against her bonds. She snaps back that she hasn't even violated any school rules, so this arrest is totally illegal. Lin Song is genuinely confused by her modern attitude. She demands to know what a demon is doing hiding among humans with such suspicious intentions. Tang Ran loses her temper, yelling that the Qing dynasty is over and demons are legally part of society now. She explains that they have to pass exams and get certifications just to live here. She tells the old lady to stop arresting law-abiding citizens randomly. Lin Song is completely stunned. Apparently, she missed the memo on the New World Order. As the exorcist hesitates, the magical rope begins to loosen. Tang Ran realizes this is her only chance to break free. Her eyes glow with a savage determination. With a violent shake, the rope falls away from the playground pole. In a flash, she lunges forward for a counterattack. She raises her fist, ready to show this exorcist some fox-style justice. But then she remembers she hasn't graduated yet and can't use magic on humans without getting in trouble. So she settles for the next best thing, 18 fox fists. It turns into a chaotic chibai brawl as they wrestle and punch each other on the ground. Suddenly, a cold voice calls out, stopping them both in their tracks. Sue stands there, looking absolutely unimpressed by the childish scuffle. Tang Ran immediately switches to poor baby mode, acting like the victim. Su stands tall, her presence commanding the entire playground. Lin Song looks disgusted by Tang Ran's acting. Tang Ran snaps that it's none of her business. Su asks what's going on, and Lin Song can't believe her eyes. She calls out Xiao Sheng, revealing a deep hidden history between them. Su responds by using Lin Song's full name, Yan Yao Sheng. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a talisman. Su looks down coldly, her expression unreadable. Lin Song's heart clearly aches at the sight of her old friend. A memory of a happier time, a childhood photo of them hugging, flashes through her mind. A time when they were inseparable and full of smiles. Back in the present, the wisteria still hangs over the bitter reunion. Lin Song desperately asks if she really is the Yan Yao Sheng she once knew. Su doesn't even offer a smile, looking at her like a complete stranger. The silence between them is deafening as they stare each other down. Lin Song's voice trembles as she asks if Su still remembers her. Tang Ran interrupts the drama, complaining about the violent person attacking her. The three of them stand in a tense standoff under the streetlights. Su finally looks away, her heart seemingly made of stone. She gives a simple, cold no. Her face is a mask of fury as she denies their past. "She's not my friend," she declares, shattering Lin Song's heart into a million pieces. Su turns her back and starts to walk away without a second glance. Tang Ran gloats as Lin Song stands there in shock. But Lin Song isn't letting her go that easily and grabs Su's arm to stop her. Su notices that Lin Song is actually bleeding from the struggle. She stops, unable to fully ignore the sight of her old friend's injury. Her cold gaze softens just a tiny bit as she looks at the wound. She asks if it hurts, and for a second the old Su peeks through the icy exterior. Tang Ran sees the spark of concern and gets incredibly jealous. She starts faking a massive injury, wailing that she's the one who's really hurting. Su realizes the school infirmary is closed and wonders if they have medicine at the dorms. Tang Ran happily lies and says they have nothing. Su sighs and offers to take them back to her house instead. Tang Ran is thrilled, her little fox tail practically wagging with joy. Su looks at her and calls her little fox, leading the way. Tang Ran beckons for them to follow, victorious for now. Tang Ran can't help but look back at the girl they left behind. She wonders how Lin Song knew she was a demon just by looking. She thinks back to the intense, strange gaze of the exorcist. In the end, she just shrugs it off, thinking Lin Song is one weird person. They arrive at Su's apartment as the city lights flicker on. The neighborhood is quiet as they head inside. Su's place is cozy and modern, a perfect sanctuary. While Su is taking a shower, Tang Ran wanders over to the window. She looks down at the street through the glass. Her heart drops when she sees Lin Song still standing outside in the cold. Tang Ran looks conflicted, even a savage fox has a conscience. Su comes out of the shower looking refreshed and ethereal. Tang Ran points out the window, mentioning that someone is still waiting out there. Su coldly says it's none of her business and turns to go to sleep. The door slams shut, leaving Tang Ran alone in the living room. Tang Ran knows Su is just acting tough. She obviously cares a lot more than she admits. She sighs, thinking women are just too hard to understand. She starts spreading a blanket on the sofa to sleep. Suddenly, the door opens again. Su looks at her and asks what on earth she's doing setting up a bed out here. Tang Ran is confused, thinking she's being kicked out. Su, drying her hair with a towel, casually invites her to sleep in her room instead. Our heroine is stunned as Su stands there in a simple black tank top, looking way too attractive. Under the soft glow of the apartment, the tension between them takes a whole new turn. As the petals fall outside, the long night is just beginning. Under the glowing wisteria, the atmosphere is getting heavy. Our girl Su drops a total bombshell, asking Tang Ran if she wants to spend the night in her room instead of the couch. She tries to play it cool while drying her hair, but the tension is visible. Tang Ran is absolutely floored, her brain short-circuiting at the sudden invitation. She turns away, face turning a bright shade of crimson as she tries to process this win. Su admits that sleeping on the sofa is just weird. But the real reason is her army of chibai foxes are literally staging a protest to reclaim their bed. Our heroine nervously waits for an answer, and Tang Ran's eyes practically turn into stars. She screams that she wants to and practically teleports toward the bedroom. Su watches her go, noting that Tang Ran is way cuter now that she stopped pretending to be a perfect, innocent lady. Tang Ran pauses, her heart doing backflips as she realizes Su has seen through her act this whole time. Su shuts the door, locking them in their own little world. Tang Ran reflects on how much has changed, swooning over the fact that Su actually wants her by her side. Su tells her to sit down, and the two of them sit on the edge of the bed, radiating pure first date awkwardness. Su clarifies that this isn't a one-sided thing anymore, making Tang Ran's heart go ba-thump so loud it's a miracle Su can't hear it. But wait, there's a catch. Su insists they keep their distance at school to maintain that professional teacher-student vibe. Tang Ran flashes a savage little smirk, agreeing that outside of school the masks are coming off. Meanwhile, in another part of the building, Xiao Sheng is tossing and turning, feeling totally irritated and unable to sleep. She finally gives up, slides on her frog slippers, and decides to take a peek outside to see if a certain someone has finally left. Her jaw drops when she sees a girl literally sleeping in a tree like a stray cat. She worries about the mosquitoes, but mostly she's haunted by how suddenly this girl left her life before. Flashback time, we're at the Qingci Welfare Institute where a young Xiao Sheng is just trying to draw in peace. But the local orphanage bullies are being absolute menaces, making fun of her stunning heterochromatic eyes. They force her hair up to mock her, and our poor girl just wants to disappear into the floor. Suddenly, a terrifying figure in a scream mask appears out of nowhere. The bullies lose their minds, screaming in pure terror as the masked kid calls them all pigs. The mask comes off, revealing a tiny, chaotic Tang Ran. Xiao Sheng stares in absolute awe as her savior reaches out a hand. Little Tang Ran tells her she's pretty and asks why she's hiding away. When Xiao Sheng says she doesn't want to play with the idiots, Tang Ran realizes she can actually speak. She offers to be her guide to all the best trouble they can get into. But there are conditions. Xiao Sheng has to call her boss and follow her every command. They make a pinky promise, and a young Xiao Sheng vows to follow her forever. Back in the present, Xiao Sheng sleeps clutching a bunny plushie, while Tang Ran is still out in that tree. Morning comes to Sue's bedroom, and Tang Ran is already back on her mission. She leans in dangerously close to Sue, reminding her that outside of school, they don't have to pretend. She goes in for the kill, eyes closed for a kiss. But Sue is a savage and blocks her with a single hand. Sue goes into full teacher mode, lecturing her on how dating is a gradual process, and you need to ask for consent before making a move. Tang Ran looks like a kicked puppy, apologizing for losing control. But then Sue takes charge, tilting Tang Ran's chin up, and initiating a deep, romantic kiss herself. She pulls back, breathless, whispering that this is a one-time only deal. Sure, Sue, we totally believe you. Sue looks out at the blooming wisteria, lost in her own thoughts. She makes it clear to our heroine that this closeness is a one-time deal. Just this once, she warns, but we all know how these stories usually go. Our girl Tang Ran can't help but blush like a total tomato. She's completely frozen as the tension in the room suddenly skyrockets. Suddenly, Tang Ran realizes something is very, very wrong with her vitals. Her heart is doing Olympic-level gymnastics against her ribs. She wonders why her body is reacting this way, looking totally dazed and confused. Sue drops some savage wisdom about how you can't fall in love if you don't even know why your heart is racing. The two sit in a heavy silence, the air thick with unspoken feelings. Tang Ran grips her clothes, trying to steady her chaotic emotions. She admits that someone actually taught her the mechanics of how to fall in love. Sue waits with bated breath, wondering if she's about to get a full confession. But Tang Ran plays it safe and keeps the mystery person's identity under wraps for now. Our heroine is finally getting serious about her feelings. She begs the professor to let her stay by her side until her studies are finished. Look at those puppy dog eyes, how could anyone say no to that face? Sue gives her the green light to pursue her, but she's setting some strictly professional boundaries. She looks absolutely ethereal in this moment, like a total dream. But she reminds Tang Ran that she won't always respond positively to her advances. Sue isn't going to ignore her own desires just to play along with our girls' games. Tang Ran nods so fast she might actually get whiplash. Sue's not entirely convinced our poor heroine actually understood the assignment. Tang Ran hides a sneaky little smile, already planning her next big move. She knows that as long as she stays close, she's got a fighting chance at winning Sue over. Sue decides it's officially bedtime and pats the spot next to her on the bed. They settle in under the covers, but Tang Ran is wide awake and plotting. She turns to Sue, remembering that the first step of a proper pursuit involves some physical contact. She nervously asks if they can hold hands while they sleep. Sue stares back at her, her expression unreadable in the dim light. To our girl's shock, Sue actually reaches out. She gently takes Tang Ran's hand and the ship is officially sailing. Tang Ran is on cloud 9, practically radiating sparkles in her sleep. But Sue tells her she's doing it all wrong and pulls away for a second. She grabs Tang Ran's hand again, but this time she properly interlocks their fingers. Like this, she says, effectively killing our poor heroine with pure cuteness. Tang Ran's internal monologue is just one long scream of joy. She realizes that despite Sue's cold exterior, she's still willing to teach her the ropes. She wonders if this is actually Sue's own way of showing desire. Sue, meanwhile, is just trying to get some sleep while managing her thirsty student. She looks off into the distance, deep in thought. She decides she'll stick around and play with this girl a little longer. Outside, the moon shines over the peaceful apartment balcony. Sue's chibai self is still processing the whole holding hands while sleeping situation, while Tang Ran's chibai is just happy to be included in the bedtime routine. The next morning arrives and the sun spills into the living room. The sound of running water signals the start of a brand new day. They brush their teeth together like a domestic married couple. Breakfast is served and they dig in with zero grace. But someone else is at the table and the vibe is suddenly very tense. Lin Song puts her cup down with an ominous click. She looks Tang Ran dead in the eye and asks if she's her new stepmother. The table goes dead silent as the stepmother comment hangs in the air. Lin Song repeats the question and the chaos levels are rising fast. Sue just keeps her cool, refusing to take the bait. Lin Song takes a long sip of her drink, judging them both silently. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife. She lets out a heavy sigh, clearly over the drama already. Our girl Tang Ran completely mishears her and thinks she said stepladder instead. Lin Song just goes back to stuffing her face with a bun. She mentions they need to go out and buy some extra school supplies for Monday. Tang Ran immediately jumps at the chance to join the field trip. Lin Song asks if she doesn't have her own classes to worry about. Tang Ran flashes a cheeky grin, claiming she just needs to get some cash. To shut her up, Lin Song literally shoves her food into Tang Ran's mouth. It's a total chibai struggle as our girl gets force-fed into silence. Sue watches the madness unfold, wondering what she's gotten herself into. Tang Ran suddenly realizes she's still wearing Sue's oversized pajamas. Sue calmly tells her she'll take care of the wardrobe situation. After the dishes are done, it's time for the trio to head out. They make their way downstairs into the bright morning sun. Sue double-checks to make sure the kids have everything they need. They head out the door, ready for a chaotic shopping spree. Sue looks absolutely stunning in her glasses and floral print shirt. She's rocking that casual chic look like the queen she is. But wait, the two girls are wearing matching dog-themed t-shirts. They walk down the street looking like a very strange little family. Lin Song is in a terrible mood and demands to know why Tang Ran is wearing her clothes. Sue points out that since they're both tiny, they're basically the same size. The dog on the shirt looks just as confused as everyone else in the scene. Tang Ran tries to explain, but the logic is surprisingly sound. Sue gives our girl a reassuring pat, though the shirt is still hilarious. Suddenly, someone is watching them from the shadows of the bushes. It's the white-haired sister, and she is absolutely fuming at the sight. Tang Ran leans in to whisper a scandalous secret to Lin Song. She gets closer and closer, her expression full of pure mischief. She tells her to come even closer for the big reveal. But first, she demands a bribe of $200 for the info. Tang Ran's inner fox is coming out. She's a total scam artist. She suddenly screams at the top of her lungs that Lin Song likes Sue. Lin Song loses it and starts chasing her down the path. Tang Ran is cackling like a maniac as she runs for her life. She begs Sue for protection from the incoming wrath of the little sister. But Lin Song catches her and delivers a savage noogie. Sue watches the two of them play, a soft smile finally appearing on her face. She realizes her life hasn't been this lively in a very long time. She thinks back to her past sisters and the ancient world she left behind. The loneliness was so vast, she almost forgot what it felt like to be happy. But looking at Tang Ran, she feels something new stirring in her heart. Our heroine's bright, genuine smile is enough to light up the whole world. Sue wonders just how long this newfound warmth will last. They walk past the park benches as the sun begins to set on their day. Tang Ran wraps an arm around Lin Song, finally making peace. The trio walks away together, leaving the quiet life behind. The wind rustles the leaves as they disappear into the distance. Back in the bushes, the white-haired girl is blushing so hard she might actually explode. She hides her face, completely overwhelmed by the chaotic love triangle she just witnessed. Our girl wakes up feeling refreshed and heads straight to the most magical place on earth, a massive human bookstore. Tang Ran is practically vibrating with excitement. She tells the others she's going to explore on her own, but she's got a secret agenda. Our poor heroine just wants some space to herself. It's her very first time in a human bookstore, and she is ready to soak in all that knowledge. She wanders through the towering shelves, eyes wide as she takes in the sheer volume of stories. Every turn leads to a new discovery. She finds herself drawn to the vibrant covers of the manga section. Flipping through the pages, she's instantly hooked by the art style. This one is so pretty, she swoons, losing herself in the illustrations. She finds another one that looks just as promising, and honestly, her TBR pile is about to become a mountain. But wait, she almost forgot her real goal. She didn't go through all this trouble just to read comics. Our savage girl has a plan to create the ultimate romantic atmosphere. She knows bookstores in fiction aren't just for reading, they are for dramatic emotional beats. She spots Professor Sue nearby and decides it's time for some magical intervention. She starts by casting a silencing spell to make the world fade away. Then she adds a touch of fragrance magic to make the air smell like relaxing old books. Finally, she manipulates the light magic so the sun hits Sue's profile just right. She sneaks up and asks if she needs any help, trying to look as innocent as possible. But she overdid the lighting magic, and now it's so bright it's practically a flashback. Her international hand gestures of magic are a bit too obvious. Professor Sue is just confused by the sudden solar flare in the middle of the aisle. Total mission fail, and Tang Ran is sweating bullets as her plan crumbles. She tries to play it off, claiming she just wanted to help grab a book. Sue sees right through her, but gives her a look that makes her heart do a backflip anyway. Suddenly, Lin Song appears and drags our girl away, claiming they need to go buy milk tea. She's not asking, she's pushing. Tang Ran tries to resist, but Lin Song leans in with a chaotic whisper. "Don't you want to be my stepmother?" she asks, and that shuts Tang Ran up real quick. They head out to an ATM, which seems like a weird detour for tea. It turns out Lin Song needs some cold, hard cash. She demands Tang Ran pay her back and keep it a secret from Sue. She claims she's been secretly saving money to help reduce Sue's stress. Tang Ran is completely moved by this sweet gesture, not realizing she's being played. Lin Song offers to help her chase the professor for a little extra compensation. Tang Ran starts shelling out the bills for some insider info. What does she like to eat? Dunno. What are her hobbies? Dunno. Tang Ran realizes she's paying for absolutely zero information. But Lin Song reminds her that being the daughter is a way better cover than anything Tang Ran has. Then the mood shifts as Lin Song drops a truth bomb. Su isn't her biological mother. She was adopted from a cold, lonely orphanage. She grew up being called a wild child because no one ever came for her. She spent her days hiding and waiting for a family that never existed. But then, during a parents' meeting, Su showed up and claimed her. Since that day, she's finally had a place to call home. Su is a woman of few words and barely shows any emotion. But since our girl Tang Ran showed up, Su has started making expressions she's never seen before. That's why she's so desperate for Tang Ran to become her stepmother. Tang Ran is absolutely sobbing at this point, promising to be the best stepmom ever. They're both a mess of tears and snot, creating a chaotic scene in public. They suddenly realize they've been gone way too long and rush back. They find Su waiting patiently outside. But in all the drama, they only bought 2 cups of milk tea. Tang Ran feels terrible and tries to hide her own drink. She nervously offers Su a sip of hers instead. Su looks at the cup and suddenly the atmosphere is filled with blooming flowers and pure romantic tension. Our girl is absolutely swooning as Su takes the straw. Su leans in close, her gaze practically piercing through our girl's defenses. She casually offers her own drink, asking if Tang Ran wants a taste. Our heroine stares at the milk tea like it's a cursed artifact, her heart doing backflips. Su holds it out with that cool, unbothered expression that drives everyone crazy. Tang Ran is a blushing mess, her face turning a shade of red that shouldn't be humanly possible. She's spiraling, wondering if sharing a straw counts as an indirect kiss. Is Su taking advantage of her, or is she just being a good friend? Meanwhile, the little chibai versions of them are dealing with the absolute chaos of high-stakes pining. Tang Ran tries to play it cool, offering her own drink in return. It's a literal beverage exchange program, and the tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. She thanks Su, calling her a good person while her brain is clearly melting. But Su isn't letting her off that easily, demanding repayment for the tea and the borrowed clothes. She places a hand on Tang Ran's shoulder, pulling her into her personal space. "You drank my tea, so you have to pay me back later," she whispers. She leans in even closer, making our poor girl tremble like a leaf in a storm. Su takes another sip, watching the reaction she's caused with a smug, hidden satisfaction. To an outsider, they look like 2 friends just hanging out. But we know better, there is nothing just friends about this vibe. Tang Ran is completely mesmerized, falling deeper into the trap by the second. Su thinks to herself that Tang Ran has such a likable personality. If she were targeting anyone else, it would be a total cakewalk. But Su is a professional, and she claims she won't be swayed by a pretty face. She keeps drinking, her eyes narrowed as she calculates her next move. She even considers adding a specific lesson to her mental textbook on how to handle someone this charming. Professor Su is the queen of keeping her poker face while her mind is a battlefield. Tang Ran suddenly asks if she can stay over at Su's house again next week. She mentions she promised to help Lin Song with something, but she'd rather be with Su. She's blushing again, practically begging for an invitation. Su goes quiet, her expression unreadable as she processes the request. Finally, she drops the bombshell. She won't be home because she's going on a business trip. It turns out she's leading the school's expedition to the Arctic. Tang Ran is stunned. The Arctic sounds like a frozen wasteland compared to Su's cozy house. Her friend suggests that with Su gone, they can have a wild sleepover. No rules, late-night snacks, and absolute freedom from the professor's watchful. They start whispering about their secret plans, looking like a pair of mischievous gremlins. Su watches them from the corner of her eye, probably sensing a disturbance in the force. She takes one last sip, the silence between them growing heavier. Fast forward a few days, and the reality of the situation is starting to set in. Tang Ran's friend is complaining about being stood up and eating fried noodles alone. She's savage, calling Tang Ran out for spending all her time with the professor. She notes that their relationship has made some serious progress lately. Tang Ran admits things are going well, but she's still confused. She feels like Su has been distancing herself ever since Tang Ran revealed her intentions. She's really not sure where she stands anymore, and it's eating her alive. Suddenly, they spot a new announcement on the school board. It's the official list for the Arctic expedition team. Tang Ran leans in, her eyes searching for a specific name. She's sweating bullets, hoping and praying she's not imagining things. And there it is, Qingci is the team leader, but who else made the cut? Cut to the faculty meeting, where the higher-ups are debating the roster. They're questioning why freshman was selected for such a dangerous trip. It's a high-stakes mission, and these kids have zero experience. But the decision has already been made, and nobody wants to argue with the person funding the whole thing. Su is dead serious, explaining that freshmen need this experience to truly understand their major. The other professors eventually cave, realizing her logic actually makes sense. They start gossiping about how incredibly rich Su's family must be to sponsor all this gear. Su ignores the whispers, her mind focused entirely on the upcoming journey. She's the definition of boss lady, and she doesn't care about their petty rumors. Her eyes are sharp, seeing through all the politics of the university. Back at the office, the tension is palpable as the selected students arrive. Sue hands out the consent forms, telling them to get them signed immediately. Tang Ran's friend asks about the cost, probably worried she'll have to sell a kidney. Sue calmly replies that the school pays for everything. Food, clothing, transportation, it's all covered. Our girls are over the moon, thinking they just won the lottery. But Tang Ran is still curious about one thing. She asks why, out of everyone, the two of them were chosen. Sue gives a total non-answer, claiming the names were just randomly drawn. Tang Ran doesn't buy it for a second, but she's too nervous to push further. She starts worrying about the cold, picturing herself as a human popsicle. Sue explains they'll be taking a plane and then a boat to reach their destination. Tang Ran's eyes light up at the thought of seeing polar bears and whales. She's practically vibrating with excitement, forgetting all about her previous worries. Her friend watches the interaction, her suspicions growing by the second. As they leave the office, she can't help but point out the obvious. She tells Tang Ran that Professor Sue is being way too nice to her. She notes that the professor acts completely differently when she's talking to our heroine. She's so gentle with you, she says, making Tang Ran's heart skip a beat. Tang Ran tries to deny it, but even she can't ignore the special treatment anymore. Inside, Sue is wrestling with her own thoughts about her favoritism. She wonders if she really is giving Tang Ran special treatment. She tries to convince herself she has no selfish motives. But deep down, she knows Tang Ran is different from the others. She's not noisy or stubborn, and she doesn't constantly fight for attention. Sue even compares her to the 3 kids at home, and Tang Ran wins by a landslide. However, she knows the rumors won't be good for the girl's reputation. It's time for her to take control of the situation before things get out of hand. She walks through the empty hallway, the weight of her decision settling on her shoulders. 1 week later, the day of departure finally arrives. A massive bus is waiting to take the expedition team to the airport. Sue is busy checking off the names, looking professional as always. She's scanning the crowd, looking for one specific orange-haired girl. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls out her name. Sue turns around and her breath catches in her throat. Tang Ran has arrived and she looks absolutely stunning in her travel gear. She's wearing a stylish outfit that perfectly captures her bubbly energy. The adventure is finally beginning and neither of them is prepared for what's coming. Our girl shows up to sign in for the research trip looking like a total main character. She's rocking a lace top and a thigh strap that definitely wasn't in the academic handbook. Professor Sue is completely stunned seeing Tang Ran in her true form, instead of her usual chaotic mess. Suitcase in hand, our heroine is ready to travel, but the professor is having flashbacks to when she saw her like this once before, totally drunk. Sue can't keep her eyes off her, and Tang Ran starts to wonder if her makeover was a bit too much. Suddenly, the professor reaches out, her hand lingering on Tang Ran's skin in a way that makes the air get real thick real fast. She asks if that mole is real, then moves on to admiring her hair extensions. When the professor calls her very pretty, our girl is officially melting into a puddle of blush. But the romantic tension is broken when they realize half the class is staring at them like they're a K-drama in real life. The names are called and it's time to board the bus. As they settle in, Professor Sue is internally screaming, wondering what came over her to touch Tang Ran like that. Meanwhile, our girl is feeling herself, glad that the effort she put into her hair and makeup actually paid off. She looks out the window, unaware that the textbook she used for seduction tips might actually be working. Switching gears, we see a younger girl grabbing her allowance and heading out for a good meal with her frog wallet. But the vibes shift instantly when she realizes she's being followed. A silver-haired girl is stalking her from the bushes. We jump back into a memory of these two as kids playing in a sandbox. Little Tang Ran declares she's a dragon with mountains of treasure. The other kids are being absolute savages, calling them the unlucky one and yin-yang eyes. We see the silver-haired girl's heterochromia, a trait that made her an outcast. Little Tang Ran admits she's terrified of ghosts, but the silver-haired girl puts a hand on her heart and promises to be her knight and protect her forever. It's a sweet moment, even if Tang Ran points out that knights usually slay dragons, not protect them. Back to the present, our girl's diary entries show the trip is in full swing. They've survived the plane ride and moved onto a boat, though Tang Ran is sweating bullets because she can't swim. At the research station, she's busy collecting biological samples, though she's mostly disappointed she can't eat the giant crabs they find. She originally thought this trip would be a prime opportunity to get closer to Professor Sue. But things are going south fast. As they disembark in the freezing snow, Professor Sue starts acting distant. She helps another student, Zhao Zhao, put on her badge with total care. And our girl is standing there feeling like a third wheel. Tang Ran lowers her head, looking like a kicked puppy, before finally working up the courage to ask the professor to help her too. But Sue gives her the cold shoulder, handing the badge to Zhao Zhao to do it instead. Our poor heroine is devastated as the professor just walks away. Out on the ice, Tang Ran feels like the entire expedition is excluding her, and Professor Sue is being ice cold for no reason. She vents to Zhao Zhao, who just tilts her head like there is something Tang Ran isn't getting. Fed up with the silent treatment, our girl marches over to the professor. Sue tries to make a quick exit, claiming she has more specimens to collect. But Tang Ran isn't letting her off that easy. She grabs the professor's arm and drops the most savage question of the trip. Are you avoiding me because I'm too beautiful? Our poor heroine is bundled up like a marshmallow in the middle of a blizzard. She's feeling herself a bit too much, asking Professor Sue if she's being avoided because she's just too beautiful to look at. Professor Sue looks like she's about 5 seconds away from losing it. But our girl doubles down, claiming everyone is secretly watching her because she's become a total magnet. She leans in with those big green eyes, practically begging for a compliment. Professor Sue tells her not to believe the hype, which leaves our girl looking absolutely dejected. But wait, the professor admits she is just a little beautiful. And our girl's ego immediately does a backflip. She's absolutely glowing, celebrating the fact that her charms are finally working. Professor Sue is even taking photos, jokingly congratulating our little fox on her initial success at seducing a human. But our girl panics, reminding her to keep it down so no one finds out she isn't actually human. Little do they know, a pair of ears is twitching nearby, catching every word. Flash forward to the school grind where our girl is running a savage side hustle. She's charging premium prices for homework, even demanding extra if she has to forge her handwriting to look like a slacker's. She's making bank and feeling like a total boss. But her victory is short-lived when she gets cornered by a group of thugs who aren't happy with her business model. They want an explanation for why they were overcharged last week. Our girl just flashes a savage smile, telling them it's simple. Since they aren't very smart, she had to charge extra for the trouble of making their work look believable. Before they can process the insult, she makes a break for it. The chase is on and she's zipping through alleyways like a pro. She pulls a total Parker move, scaling a wall and dropping down into the shadows. She thinks she's pulled off the perfect escape. But as she walks out, she finds the whole gang already waiting for her. Talk about chaotic energy. She realizes she's outnumbered 4-1 and starts looking for her usual protector, Yan Yaosheng. But for the first time, she is nowhere to be found. This abandonment triggers a painful memory from the Welfare Institute. Little heroine was so excited, holding 2 ice creams and looking for her friend. She's told Zio Sheng was called away by the dean. She waits and waits, watching the ice cream melt into a sticky mess. That's when the brutal truth sank in. No matter how long she waited, her friend wasn't coming back. Back in the present, the scientific team is packing up in the snow. Professor Sue is busy rubbing her hands to stay warm when she spots something incredible through her lens. It's a real Arctic fox. She goes into full nerd mode, desperate to collect fur and photos of this lucky find. She starts tracking the paw prints in the snow, finding a tuft of white fur and feeling like she hit the jackpot. But the mood shifts instantly when a massive shadow looms over her. She looks up and realizes she's not the hunter today. A massive, red-eyed polar bear is ready to end the expedition.